Thank you, brother. I'm just trying to have the mathing, okay? Neil deGrasse Tyson said 300,000 feet you cannot see the Earth's curvature. The Earth's diameter generally is 41,804,000 feet. If you were to divide 300,000 feet into 41 million 0.804000 feet, that's 136 divisions of 300,000. So if you was to take the Earth and slice it into 139 or say 140 pieces, you're like that far away from the Earth. So no, you cannot see the Earth's curvature by that order of magnitude. So this is the math: 300,000 feet of a complete diameter of 41,804,000. You wouldn't be able to clearly see the Earth's curvature because 300,000 feet is 140th of the distance of the complete diameter of the Earth.
But that's going based off of the numbers that they're giving you. But okay.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you for that, Osaru. Go ahead, Bo.
I just want to say, I want to go with the brother in box 6 when he said common sense. But no, I'm just joking. But listen, have you ever did any studies where a plane just went north? Do you notice when you keep going north, I'm talking about on a straight plane, when you just going north, it starts to turn south. But when you start going east, it never turns west. You just continue to go east, 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 east. And if you go north, you go south, south, south. Don't take my word for it. Y'all gonna lose all
No,
the
so
analytical and things like that, but explain that. What came first, the chicken or the egg? But anyway, I'm done.
Thank you. All right. Go
That's
ahead,
too
Angel.
easy.
My perspective. Oh, I'm gonna go after Angel.
Yep, you after Angel left. Go ahead, Angel. Now he got up
no,
and walked away from the
you know what?
couch.
I ain't even gonna say nothing, bro. You just said it
Okay.
all.
Go
Hey
ahead,
yo, I
Ali. He
gotta
got
go.
up and got
Oh,
from the couch. Go ahead, Ali.
My perspective of the circumstance, like I get everybody's perceptions of the ideologies, but my perspective is the human eye may not be able to recognize ultraviolet lights, but we can recognize the reaction of ultraviolet. Like our skin is like a reactor to ultraviolet lights, and ultraviolet lights come from the sun. So our bodies can tell if there is a prevalence of ultraviolet lights or radiation in the atmosphere for anybody. But I think somebody asked earlier, how can you recognize ultraviolet lights? Like we don't have any tools. Your skin is the easiest way.
Shit, I kind of
Listen,
lost.
you
She's
want to go?
absolutely right. She's absolutely right. And the same goes for infrared. If you take the sunlight and you let the sunlight go through a regular prism and you let the prism go on any, like a piece of white paper, and you see the color band broken down by the prism, if you go towards the red end of the spectrum, the temperatures, and you have a thermometer and you put the thermometer in that light, in the light spectrum, the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, the temperature is generally the same. But if you go a little ways past the violet, like outside of the color spectrum, the temperature rises significantly, and that is the ultraviolet end of the spectrum, which is off to the area going towards the blue, and the red is the infrared absolute, where those are the larger wavelengths. So
Yeah.
they're really unbothered by a lot of things, but the heat comes from the UV interaction. Yes, it does.
Ultraviolet lights, you could tell by like your tanning. Like if you tan, you be outside, you can tell the extensity or like the intensity of like the level of radiation or ultraviolet light in your area based upon the duration you're outside in comparison to how bad your sun either tans, burns, or freckle up. Like that's all reactions of ultraviolet light.
This is
listen.
what I get.
It's real simple, and we don't even have to talk about centripetal force, centrifugal force. We could just talk about the constellations, why you cannot see the Southern Cross in the Northern Hemisphere, yeah, right, and the Great Bear in the Southern Hemisphere. That alone proves you're not on a flat plane. Curvature on the moon is
All right,
seen
Yogi.
from Earth.
Okay, Yogi.
Hello, hello.
What
It's real
when
simple.
listen, I know when he gets back though, because I feel like it's gonna get there, and I did want Osaru to sum up the last 10 seconds of what he said, because when he was saying that he was behind the blinds too, so I don't know if he got a phone call, but you know you
Phone be
could
acting
chime in,
stupid.
Yogi.
But
You could also
the
chime in.
sister said
You said what,
something
Osaru? You said what,
about.
Osaru?
I was saying the sister was talking about UV, and the thing about UV. I wanted
No,
to
not
cam up.
that. The piece that you said about the division and the fucking miles, like the 300
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
And
But
my
when he gets
He
back
wa-
perspective,
though,
he
because I wanted him to respond to that.
he was
in my
debunking the
perspective,
math he
in
was
my
bringing.
perspective of this conversation, it was like a correspondence to when somebody was talking about like energy, and then also like the perception of Earth. I don't think that the Earth is flat nor round. I think it's like more shaped like an egg. That's from what I've that's from what I've
Oblate spirit. Why
studied.
you laugh, Osaru?
I've studied that the
because
Earth is more
it's
shaped.
close.
The Earth is more shaped like an egg. Like most of the planets that we think is an absolute like shape is
Oblate.
more like it's really obscure. And like somebody said earlier, the human brain cannot understand or comprehend the absolution. There's only two type of beings on this planet that can understand the power of zero and how to manipulate it, and that is bees and what is it? I think bees and
And
birds.
Osaru. And Osaru
And
more.
Osaru. But I'm just saying, like, prevalently, as far as like a statistical base, like, not too many people like are aware of the way. Because I feel like even if you don't believe that the world is round, you could stand something up, and that's how you could tell everything is not like flat. In my perception, like you could do your own, you can do your own tests. You know, stand your phone up right now and see if it stays standing up. I'll wait.
I can do that.
What you said. What she said about UV actually proves that the Earth is round as
I
well.
used to stand.
Let me hear.
And then you got to take
Let me
Well,
hear how.
into
It's
consideration
I
that
like
want to
somebody
hear. I want
said
zero.
that
to
the
go ahead and
correlation.
expound why, Osaru.
Oh,
okay. All right. Now look
Used to
here.
listen.
You have. I hear like somebody's like lagging or something. But at any rate, imagine the equator being the parallel to our axis. So it would be the farthest out from our axis, the periphery of our axis, the equator. It is also the closest part to the sun. That's why equatorial parts are very hot. And when you have the equator and say you got the round part and the sun is right here, the sun is coming straight to the closest part of the ball. So it's less atmosphere for it to travel through. Now the ball is right here. If we're over here on the ball, the sun has to travel diagonal through more atmosphere to get to us. So when it comes to UVC, UVC is very, very small, and it interacts with nitrogen. It interacts with a lot of stuff, and the energetic level is high, but it doesn't really make it down through Earth's atmosphere to our skin. Now UVB, which is very good, which is used by our melanin, makes it through the atmosphere down to our skin, and UVC, which can be damaging to some people. That's very strong, and it has penetrating power, and that's also coming from the sun. But the fact that UVC cuts down the farther you get away from the equator means that the Earth is curving around, and geometrically the sun has to cut through more atmosphere. So the UVC count will go down. And incidentally, the UVB count will also go down too. The more heavier molecules that are in gases that are in the way to interact with the larger part of the UVB spectrum will, it gets blocked. That's why the poles are cold, because they're like the farthest away from the sun at any given time.
May I vocalize
that
something after you,
UV
Angel?
Angel got his hand. Angel got his hand up, and then you can go right after him. Go
Oh,
ahead,
of
Angel.
course.
No. I was agreeing with him because I was the one who was saying all the extra shit. The widest part of the earth is the part that's the hottest. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the closest to the sun. And the higher you get up, the further you get from the sun. But you said it because I was like, why the fuck are you saying all this shit? You know what I'm saying? Y'all did just too many fucking words where you could just say one fucking blunt thing. What the fuck? That's why y'all always arguing and shit, trying to motherfucking get over on each other. Y'all longest
I have to
argument.
squeak in here a little bit. Don't I understand, if you might not like certain terminology, but we do fancy science around these parts, so you may hear some shit that you ain't never heard before.
Yeah, man.
And
Put
may I
your
It's
suit
say
on.
nothing
something?
personal. It's just
Put your suit on,
it's
Angel.
our arena. And in our arena, we're going to pull out what we deemed as our science, and that may come out sounding
the
like
brother,
a fucking word you never heard before.
My
the
perception
brother
on
does
the
have a point.
subject. My perception
I
on the
mean, I
subject.
get that point, but I feel like I do that enough on my daily that when it is a
That's
room
right.
full of sorry to cut you off, Ali. I'm sorry. I just want to respond to this. When it is a room full of brothers and sisters that are able to carry this conversation, it's just full right. So but it's also a teaching room. If there is something that you don't understand, or if there's something that you don't know what the fuck we are talking about, there's also that aspect of, hey, what the fuck did you just say? And we can go from that point. But yeah, go ahead, Ali.
Some people break it down. I'm gonna respond to that, and then I'm gonna respond to the circumference of the planet perspective. I feel like the majority of people that come in organics panel don't underestimate a person's intelligence nor ignorance. So some people expound and some people simplify. For the subject that was a correspondent to what Osaru was saying, the one thing that we weren't vocalizing was the way that our different levels of our atmosphere, flex like light, and reflexes like the my apologies. The mesosphere and the stratosphere, because above that is the thermosphere. The mesosphere and the stratosphere together is like a lens. It's like a magnifying glass. So that's why there are certain parts on the planet, like he was talking about the equator, that is more prevalently warm as opposed to the North Pole and the South Pole, because there are certain parts of our atmosphere that behaves like a magnifying glass. And not only does it behave as a magnifying glass, it also behaves as a reflector. That's why there's a such thing that's called an ozone, which is in between the mesosphere and the stratosphere. That it's more prevalent in certain areas because there are certain areas that have a thinner mesosphere,
Right.
But I'm gonna try to digress from there.
Folks can't even describe the atmospheres without throwing in the word sphere, which deals with circling, which goes back to magnetic fields and poles. And if you don't understand magnetism and you're saying Earth is flat, you don't know the foundational laws of magnetism, electromagnetism. I'll stop there.
Cause that's what like somebody said in the
You play
comments.
dirty pool, sir.
Like somebody said in the comments, camera lenses. Our eyes is a perfect example of how the way our planet is. I hear people all the time correlate the human body to different, like the way that our environment behaves or the way the universe behaves. Like the human body is a perfect way to understand how so many things are as their neighbor. Like somebody said with your eyes, like there are certain parts of your eyes that behaves just like the planet. When it comes down to the thermosphere, the mesosphere, and the stratosphere, like there are certain levels in your eye, like the cornea, the retina. They just have different terminologies for it,
firmament. You down there saying word magic is why the spear is part of the earth spell. Get your ass up here. Get up here.
Get your spooky ass up here, nigga. Happy Halloween.
Get your ass up here. Come here.
I just feel like human beings have been the biggest, what we like to call scientific pets, not even pets, like when it come down to science, because people have used human beings for science and don't even vocalize it more prevalently
What did
as
you say the
opposed to
other
what
day,
they do.
Lucifer? We're not really that special.
Type shit.
Well,
Like some people go missing
the
and they
science.
think it's out of trafficking, but nah, it's out of scientific like studies. Like some people will like kidnap just to test chemicals and shit on somebody. Like
hell yeah. What you thought Frankenstein was a fake story? Ooh.
Oh, I don't think any of those. I don't think any of those things are fiction. Any of those like folklore or stuff like that, I do think is prevalent. I just think that the fact that it's more poisons and toxicities and our ozone is thinning,
I always
you
said
don't see the
Frankenstein was
prevalence.
eugenics. Okay, I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. Go ahead, y'all. Go.
What should you see by Texas people?
Hey yo, I think Bigfoot real. I just think Bigfoot was a man that got
a bad
tall
experiment.
as hell. I think that. I really think that he's a bad experiment. I think he's a human being, but he lives out like an animal type shit. Cause I've seen human beings come back to, domesticated lifestyle and really behave like a full blown human.
I'm surprised Yogi ain't bringing up that instance of that little girl that was dead as hell and then she woke up in her coffin. What was that little girl?
Oh, yo, remember that girl?
Oh yeah,
the girl that they found that was like Native American in ice, and now they hiding her.
Seasons.
Okay, NSA got a question. He said, "Why is the ozone layer and not an ozosphere?"
The biggest reason why the ozone layer is not an ozosphere is because the ozone layer is a compilation of the reactivity of what goes on in certain levels of the atmosphere. That's why they call it the ozone, because in certain levels of the atmosphere is the highest of where oxygen can be prevalent, even at its simplest form. Like there is no oxygen in the mesosphere. Past the stratosphere, there is no oxygen. And the stratosphere is where, in between the stratosphere and the mesosphere, is where the ozone layer is prevalent. So that's why they call it that. They call it like the ozone layer.
You're right. That zone, the ozone, because it's ozone. That ozone layer is about I think 5 to 30 miles above the Earth's surface, and that ozone, it comes from oxygen that's naturally in the atmosphere. Oxygen usually naturally pairs with itself, and literally cosmic energies, and mostly what you were talking about early, sis, with the ultraviolet. Ultraviolet reacts with the ozone and makes it into 3 oxygens. And when it's 3 oxygens together, it's unstable, but it still holds together. But it blocks a lot of radiation. It absorbs, displaces, reflects a lot of the cosmic radiation, and mostly UV that we would get, that would cause a lot of people who can't process higher levels of UV to die off.
And
So
to simplify,
it's like,
oh my bad. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interject.
No, go ahead. Keep going. You got
my apologies using these different words, but that's the easiest way to understand and comprehend which one means. Like stratus, you break that word down. Stratus, the beginning of that means layer. That automatically simplify, like the origin of stratus means layer. So that's why they usually have simplified it to the population, to the ozone layer, because that's what the stratosphere is interpreted to mean. That's the simplified definition of what the stratosphere is. It's another word for ozone.
I once saw a video. I think it's still on YouTube. A man who shot up an amateur rocket up 100,000 feet. And if you zoom in real close on that video, when it reached that height, it had a camera on it too, with no